This is this is Wizard Workshops, isn't it? Yes. And we have got a rapid prototyping riff today about rapid prototyping anti-fragile machines and methods. And I'm excited because I've been developing steel rings, and we're calling it Wizard Forge, and it's going to be on Etsy. And the idea is that we're pushing through to be able to make them quickly enough to put an extra love and blessing on each ring, and to do custom made stamping. So this here is a trial thing. Ooh, I was going to say to my daughter who's filming, Santi, this is a cool thing donated by a friend who comes in and riffs with me on creative subjects and distracts me mightily. So the example that I'm using is a real life example of right now. For the last 2 weeks I've been obsessing about rings and boxes to put them in, and we're going to focus on just one aspect of the rings and the forge of the rings. And this here is the idea is you turn them rings pipes into rings, because that's theoretically quicker, and there's a million different ways that you can do anything. And part of the trick to creativity is and getting results is homing in on a few possibilities, and then on one possibility, and then getting that done and pushing through, because there'll always be a dip. You know, you think, wow, I made one ring, wow, it's great, I could make hundreds of these, and then you realize, oh, there's different sizes, and I'd need a machine that was flexible enough, and should I do it this way or that way? You can bog right down and then give up. So the thing is, be absolutely heedless. Once you do it, you just say, right, I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to ask, is it worth it? Whys and wherefores, marketing. I'm just going to think, I love rings, I'm going to make some rings. I'm going to see how I can make machines that can make the rings quite quickly, but also with craft. So I have been through a few iterations where I first of all I used a pipe cutter, which is really cool. You just put it on the pipe and it's got a wheel, but that doesn't cut really thick pipe for really chunky rings. So I wanted something that would do anything, cut any kind of pipe. So I finally I came around yesterday to making a ring lathe, which is another little pun. Grandpa puns come free on this channel. And so I started off and I was turning with various chisels, and I made up a chisel just yesterday, because I was finding that the wood chisels were too fine and they were breaking off. But this is from a grandpa garage sale, and I got some free trays of bits and pieces, and I happened to remember I had one of these, so I hammered it into a bit of pipe and I tested out turning. But I realized that I've never done much turning in metal, and you have to adapt. Wood is different because you can do high speed with a very fine thing and peel off the wood shavings, but with metal you have to have a strong, usually that the cutter is held and you screw it, wind it in, and it's lower speed and high pressure. That is what I would call fragile, because or what this guy, the Black Swan man, Nassim Taleb, he also wrote the Antifragile, things that gain from disorder. Now, life is anti-fragile, as he says. It's adaptive. It's not complex in a way that can break down if one, part of the supply chain breaks. It's very it's multi-supplied. So a dog, for example, very successful here. Hey Luna, do you want to be on camera? Do you want to be famous? This is the mother of our daughter, our little baby. She's a Japanese Spitz. She's called Luna. And she is an example of anti-fragile life, because she can eat anything. She would survive even on just like mice or lizards or snails. Her daughter, Sushi here. Sushi, up. Sushi can, Sushi digs for worms. She could live on worms. When it's wet weather and she digs into the chips and she gets worms, and that's an example of dogs, omnivores are example of anti-fragile life, and they're very successful. They also band together, and that's anti-fragile because they can adapt to a bigger animal, they can bring down animals way bigger than themselves. They're not focused on one niche. They can feed off just so many different things and so many animals, so many sizes. They're very adaptable. So the aim is with anti-fragile manufacturing and small workshop craft is to do things that way and flexible. So you have on hand as many sort of materials that you can sort of press into service that are multi-use. Bits of wood from pallets, and these panels, which Timothy has told me I should have out the front. And here's one of them, and I've got about 20 there, and I've got about 60 at home. They're free from the side of the road. When you get a free resource, you use it more creatively because you're not so uptight about it. It's very important not to be uptight when you're creating and you're prototyping. So you've got to be in play mode, you've got to be in flow mode. And so these pieces cut on this saw when it's not cluttered. You can make all sorts, shelves, I make shelves, I can wood grain it, I use it for any rapid sort of prototyping of machines. So this machine here is what I call a lathe or ring lathe, and just this morning I've set it up. I'm quite excited because I've made these holders. There's a clamp, there's screws. Another wonderful invention that we have is the self-tapping screw. Self-tapping wood screw has changed my life. I'll just put it under here. With the square drive or similar, you can just put it in one of these and you can just, whiz a screw in, whiz it out, and basically can hold anything and very strongly, and you can even use it for something like this. So that there is my on-off and speed switch. Just a screw, reasonably, just the right tension so that it can do this. Now later on, fine tuning. You could have a spring, it could be spring loaded, all that, but you've got to prove the concept first. So I go through many stages quickly because I don't overthink each stage. I just say, right, do the minimum. And so now I was thinking about, all right, what's anti-fragile way of cutting and shaping a pipe to make a ring without needing a very complex and therefore fragile, financially fragile, and possibly in other ways too, expensive parts if you break it, a long learning curve. If you're not an engineer, what do? Okay, I thought, well, I've used these amazing little cut-off wheels a lot recently. They're so thin, they don't waste much steel, and they are extremely quick to cut through stuff. So I thought the first iteration was having this going like this and cutting off pipe. But I thought then you're going to have to turn around with each ring has to be operated on if you want to make, for example, a groove in them. How would you do it when it's loose? So, okay, my thought was the final ultimate solution might be to turn them like an engineer does. But then I thought that's fragile. I haven't got the money to buy a metal lathe. And anyway, they have to be a special kind that has a hole in the middle so you could feed the thing through. So I thought, make my own. And so that's why we've got one piece here which is notched and another two pieces here that basically like jaws. And those jaws just fit over the pipe. And all I did was I got hardwood, offcuts from our deck. So that's, what is that wood? It's one of the hardwoods. What is it?
Vitex.
Vitex? I know it as something else, but I forget. Anyway, any kind of hardwood.
Puriri.
Puriri is very good. That's a New Zealand native, but this stuff is easily obtained. And I just put some lubricating oil on for quick start. This sort of thing is a quick lubricator, CRC in this case, so it soaks into the wood. And believe it or not, I've done quite a bit of turning trying to do the metal yesterday, but now I'm going to do a first trial of using a combination of the lathe and a nice quiet cut-off Makita, so quiet and smooth, so I don't even have to wear ear masks, not in the short term anyway. And I have plastic glasses on, which, as long as I'm not peering over them, are fairly good protection against little bits flying off. But in the long run, I will get some actual goggles. The trouble is that they fog up, and that can be dangerous. But anyway, here we are. I also thought for safety, it's good longer term to have extraction. And this is a quick start thing. I don't have a complicated shop vacuum system because that's fragile, because you have to put things everywhere. You might want to, have a whole system of pipes, and what if you move? So I have thought, right, just ordinary off-the-shelf vacuum cleaners, very close to the source of the dust. So this vacuum cleaner here, I just stuck a hole in it, took 5 minutes to get improvised dust extraction and smoke. And here's another beautiful little tool, improvised. This is pieces of rubber from the sidewall of tires. You can get like 100 from a tire, and then once again self-tapping screws. We've made whole bamboo structures with glass houses, plastic glass house, with these things holding, screwed into the bamboo, holding and they've lasted years. Anyway, so this here is an example of a use for it. You can use it for a sort of a loose, flexible clamp to just hold something down. I sometimes use it for electric cord. And so we will, this is an actual trial live, so something could go wrong, but this is part of the whole point. How will I react? If it goes wrong, I fix it, I find, and you just learn, and it's like a tree growing, and you solve problems, and then you solve more problems, and you solve problems that come from the solving of the first problems, until you've got a great compromise. And there's always a compromise. You never get 100% perfect method for anything. I will throw in for free another hack is always have candle. This is a candle wax, but just a candle or two around the place for lubricating bits and pieces. It's great. I actually did an experiment a while back, years ago, where I just rubbed some wax. You can do it for drawers. You rub some wax onto a surface like that, and then you maybe want something that slides around like that for a jig of some sort. I was helping my brother-in-law with the stoves, homewood stoves, and I wanted a thing that would move around like that. So you drill, move it around, drill. Anyway, point is, I have experimented with like silicone spray and different oils, but wax actually came out better. That's my experience anyway. And it's free or cheap or free. So anyway, I will attempt to make a wide ring with a groove on either side like this. And I think it's best to file or sand like lathing wise. But the alternative is you can finish it later, and that's a whole other little improvised setup I've got, where I put the ring on a piece of wood that I've turned, but that's for another time. So we will turn this. Oh, this is another wonderful thing, so adaptable, so flexible, battery powered. This is just a fairly cheap brand, Ozito, and it's got 2 speeds, it's got reverse, forward, so flexible and anti-fragile for making machinery. And I was agonizing starting to agonize, but then I just slept on it. How do you fasten a pipe in an anti-fragile, flexible way to a drive? Well, in this case, a drill. And I remembered that there is a kind of thing that's a bolt. It's got a bolt, and maybe I could zoom in. It's got a bolt and a rubber drum, and the bolt here it's got an opposite screw thread so that it tightens during movement. And they're cheap. They're cheap. You can get sets of them, and they're made for you put a little sleeve. Actually, I won't show it. It's not the real main point of the video. So the bottom line is I just improvised that, quick and easy, and it's got just enough grip to be all that it needs. In fact, more than enough now, because I'm not going to try and turn this in the conventional way with a cutter like the engineers, metal engineers metal lathe. I'm going to use a combination which is very anti-fragile, and I can, because this is very fine, I should be able to make grooves at will very quickly, and actually cut it off with the same tool. So I think I'm ready to give it a go. Oh, and one other thing, I've nearly burnt myself quite a few times with stuff that are like these rings. So I've just put some water in a very low improvised tray, and so the ring falls off into water. And so I'll turn on the vacuum. Good suction there. So hopefully it won't suck the water in. And that, once again, anti-fragile. You can just adjust this. So we'll see how it goes. This is genuinely the first time I've done the complete thing. So turning it on, you can do low speed, high speed. I'll go for high speed. Turn this on, make a groove. Another groove. Okay. Now I'll cut it off. And there we have a ring. Yahoo! So not bad, not bad. So now we have silence again. Now that obviously has to be touched up. So I think we will go to that other location over here, and I'll show you my improvised holder for rings and the reamer